Kamusta yung weekend ninyo? Please answer the poll question. So for our student participants, kumusta naman? Anong feeling nyo that the first semester has ended? You may type your answers or thoughts in the chat box if you want to share your thoughts. So in 2 minutes, we shall start our program proper. And once we begin, may I request all our participants to mute their microphones and turn off their videos unless you will be sharing your thoughts or asking questions later on. And for the questions, you may use the chat box in presenting or raising your questions. And later on, we'll give time to answer those questions at the end of the presentation during the Q&A portion. So again, thank you so much. So I hope before we begin, you've answered the poll question that we presented earlier. How was your weekend? Is it a green, a yellow, or red? So I think we can begin now.
Mm-hmm.
Their blueprint. So of course, we start our program today with a prayer, which will be led by Miss Nolene.
Okay, so let us put ourselves in the holy presence of God. If you wish to mention your personal intentions, you may also type it in the chat box. Okay, so all together, in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Lord, we praise you for your everlasting love. We thank you for gathering us all here today in this webinar workshop and for giving us the chance to learn how to take care of ourselves better as we care for others as well. Bless our hosts and speakers so they may share the most of their knowledge about their respective topics. Bless our participants that they may absorb the invaluable knowledge and experiences from this webinar and put into practice what we may learn today. So guide us always and keep us and our loved ones away from all harm and sickness. So this we ask in Jesus' name, amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen.
Amen. Okay. So thank you, Miss Nolene. So again, I'd like to welcome all of you to our webinar workshop this morning. This workshop is about understanding what true self-care is and how we can use art journaling to have self-care check-in. So again, like what I've mentioned earlier, kindly mute your microphones and turn off your videos during the presentation, but you may still post your questions And later on, we'll give time to answer them during the Q&A. So without further ado, let me introduce to you our facilitators for this morning's workshop. First is, of course, our beloved school psychologist who is fond of using art as part of the therapeutic process. And I say that she's actually the one who introduced this to us. Let's all welcome Miss Mian Villanueva.
Hello,
Okay,
everybody.
thank you, Miss Mian. And of course, another psychologist who will be facilitating this workshop for us this morning is none other than the one and only Miss Eileen Bello.
A pleasant
As
day,
a,
everyone.
okay, thank you, Miss Eileen. So I'll give the floor now to you.
Okay. So earlier, Sir Marvin led us to a short poll, one question poll, asking how's your weekend, no? Uh, and from that, it seems na most of us, like around 40, half of us here feels like we're recharged over the weekend. Siguro, I guess, partly because tapos na yung SEM, so we can breathe now. Although may mga like around 40 or 30, I think 38% if I remember that correctly. They're feeling so-so. 39.3%, they're feeling so-so. Siguro, I'm guessing it's the anxiety waiting for the results of the grade, perhaps, no? And a few of us feel like bitten yung weekend. So I hope the break after the semester will help us renew our energy and recharge there. So we're going to start with the the parang a discussion or a psychoeducation part about what self-care is, and then Miss Mian will guide us through an activity, an art journal activity where we can practice psychoeducation part. So we'll just wait for the screen to share. Pero just to give you an overview, self-care is already something that we are all familiar with. It's something that is common to all of us. But the question is how we're going to practice it and how we're going to apply it in our daily lives, no? And in this webinar, we want to be able to do that. We want to hopefully help somehow in guiding you guys to practicing self-care in your daily life. Okay. I'm not sure if it's just me or my internet, but I can't see the screen. Is it being shared, Miss Mian, or is it already there?
It's being shared. I can see it. I don't know the others. Miss
Sir Marvs,
Sir
can you see
Marbs?
the screen?
I can see it as well. I don't have it yet.
Okay. So we'll
Maybe
just
it's
wait.
because my internet is quite slow.
How about the participants? Can you see the
Can we
screen?
check? Okay. Can we ask our participants? Do you see the
Okay.
presentation? Okay.
Miss, okay. Miss Nolaine will share the presentation.
They can see it.
Okay, good. So please bear with us if there are some technical glitches. You know naman ang internet sa Philippines. Ayan there.
Okay. Now can't see the screen. Anyway, sige, while waiting, the question that we asked earlier, yung how's your weekend, is just one of the many questions that you will be seeing in today's session. Uh, Essentially, this webinar workshop is one important aspect of the ongoing wellness toolkit program. Okay, so we've devised some guide questions that students and anyone actually can use to help them plan for their self-care. Hi there. Thank you for being here with us today, as we learn ways of creating our personalized self-care blueprint. As we go along, we're going to show you some practical ways on how to plan for your self-care and make it your own. Okay. Okay. So why do we need to take care of ourselves? Every day we are facing difficulties, challenges, stressors, and it's important to practice self-care so that we can replenish and renew our energy that we're using when we are doing our tasks, when we are relating to our daily activities, and of course when we are also taking care of others, because it's going to be hard to take care of others if we are also feeling drained or tired or empty, you know. Although some people can really go on without taking breaks, without pausing, it's not it's not ideal, it's not healthy in the long run, because not being able to pause and not being able to slow down and to uh, really get to know the self better, to really take care of the needs of the self, may be detrimental to the well-being. Okay, so and that's what we're going to explore in this webinar. So basically, it's not just finding your me time, but it's a conscious effort and an active approach to renew the energy within ourselves and to have a better relation with the self in general. One concrete benefit of doing this is to avoid burnout and to keep the self and the well-being aspects at an optimal level. The goal of practicing self-care is for us to nurture our well-being. And our well-being, that's you, consists of the body, the soul, the mind, and the spirit. According to Riff, psychological well-being is defined as the individual's state of optimal psychological functioning, whereby he or she processes the following attributes, namely, one, positive attitude towards the self. So it's having this healthy relationship with yourself, the way you talk, the way you communicate to yourself, the way you make sense of your experiences. Also, it's having a quality relationship with others. It's having a sense of self-determination and independence. It's having the capacity to manage one's life and environment. So it's in that aspect, we acknowledge that there are parts of our lives that will be within our control, and parts of our lives that will be beyond our control. So we have to acknowledge that now, and it's important when we are managing the self and or our emotions. Lastly, I don't know, second to last is the belief, having that belief that one's life is purposeful and meaningful, and lastly, having that desire for continued growth and development. And I think all of you who are here right now have that one check part. So we all love learning, especially learning about ourselves. And having that kind of attitude will bring us to an optimal wellness, or an optimal well-being. And here there are 6 aspects of well-being that we're going to talk about. And this will be helpful in designing our own self-care blueprint. In reality, there are other aspects of wellness or well-being, such as financial aspects, especially for adults. But we're not going to discuss that here. We're going to focus on the physical aspect, psychological aspect, emotional, spiritual, social relationships, and the professional or the academic. Now, what are these? We're going to zoom in to each of these aspects, beginning with the physical. So the body. The body is an important aspect of who we are, the physical body, our appearance,
And we start with the hygiene. So here I'm going to give you some questions that you can think about or reflect as you decide to choose activities that will really help you take care of yourself. For example, in the aspect of hygiene, what activities or helpful tools can you use to take care of hygiene, especially when you have little or low energy to move or do anything? And sometimes that can happen. No? We don't have to be like clinically depressed or something like that to know what it's like to have no energy to do anything. Sometimes that just really happen. And when that happens, how are you going to take care of yourself? What will help you move a little um, slowly and step by step so that you can still keep yourself healthy, especially the body, the physical body. Sleep is also an important aspect of the physical body. So it's important to ask yourself, how's your sleep? Like this past weekend, did you get to have did you get to have enough sleep? Did you get to have at least 6 hours to 8 hours of sleep? And how would you describe the quality of your sleep? Are they like continuous good quality sleep, or did you find yourself waking up in the middle of the night? And what could be the possible reason for that? And how can we address it? So answering those questions might help us have a better relation with our physical body. Also, another important aspect of the physical body is our eating and drinking habits. So, are you eating healthy? If you are on a diet, is it still in line with what's recommended nutrition wise? Do you eat regularly and mindfully so? Meaning, when you are in front of your meal, is your attention fully into whatever is in front of you? Like, have you in the last meal that you had? Let's say if you had breakfast earlier, did you notice how the food tastes? Did you notice how it smells? How the texture of the food was like? Things like that. And noticing those things will help us become more grounded to the present moment. Also, water is important. Like, we have to keep ourselves hydrated, especially now that we are um, going through a pandemic. It's important to be healthy, and it's important to keep our immune system um, ready to fight some uh, some viruses or other things. Okay, and in line with that, it's important to um, take our vitamins, or if you are taking some medications for your health, you have to um, make some system, or you have to create some system for so that you won't forget your medications. And regular checkups is also important for the physical body. Okay, so part of the physical aspect is our appearance. No? For example, getting dressed each day, um, like uh, even if we're staying at home, it's important to take a shower, get up, change clothes, um, get dressed, throw on a cute and comfy outfit that makes you feel like yourself. Okay. Also, if you are comfortable in your pajamas, that's also okay as long as you feel that you are more of yourself with that. No? Last aspect of the physical body is the physical fitness and relaxation. So, what activities do you engage in to stay physically fit? What are your go-to activities for rest and relaxation? So, you can some suggested activities include like doing yoga, exercises, running, walking, and we're not listing down these things because It's really up to the person. Some people, they would try new things and it work for them, but some people might have other preferences. So we're free to choose which activities will work for us. And also depending on the goal, some people may have different fitness goal. Right. So now we're moving on to the next aspect, which is the psychological aspect of well-being. And here we're talking about the mind, how we nurture the mind. We're taking care of the mind sometimes entail arranging our environment. For example, one can keep the clutter to a minimum, and it can make us feel less stressful. Like some people can work well with some looks of disorganized things, but some people cannot. So it's really up to you. So what works for you and what doesn't work for you. It's important to consider those things. It's also important to be flexible with schedule, like taking each day as it comes and not worrying what's going to happen next. So that's one way of taking care of the mind. Another way is to think of what do you need to enjoy and stay motivated in your own learning and education, like of your students and your learning. And now that we're in a new setup, the online learning, what will help you enjoy the process, okay? Not fixate yourself to the outcome if you're going to fail or not. And then what stimulates your creativity? So it's an important aspect of nurturing the mind, no? When we create new things, when we discover new things, and this is also in line with keeping some hobbies that you enjoy that makes you feel more of yourself. And in terms of activities, what are the activities that help you fulfill your needs? Okay, I'm gonna focus here on needs because it's important to become aware of your personal needs. So sometimes we are self-aware now that we just realize maybe by through introspection reflection or maybe through journaling we realize these needs like needs for warmth affection or sometimes through our res- uh, through our introspection and reflection from our personal experiences you realize that oh after interacting or having this kind of um, interaction with a friend, you realize that this is the kind of need that you want. But one way to also address that, finding what your needs are, is through counseling, talking to a professional to discuss your psychological needs or personal needs. Okay, some other aspects of nurturing the mind is to oh I mentioned this one okay all right I mentioned this already seeking help so as I mentioned um, you can start with that no start by having that desire or that curiosity to know more of your personal needs so you would have better response to situations that come to you but also understanding stressors understanding warning signs of stress or triggers and seeking help when necessary. So, do you seek help when you feel like you're struggling? And it's perfectly okay to seek help. It's normal and it's okay to not feel okay at times. And it's also okay to reach out, right? Um, as students of LS, you're free to reach out to your counselors, and we're here to help you if you need us, okay? Other questions that you can ask would be this one. What can help you feel a sense of ownership and acceptance of your own narrative, of your own story? Why is this important? A lot of times we're having difficulty with managing ourselves and our emotions when we deny what's happening with us, when we deny um, that we are having these feelings or we are experiencing these things. So that small denial, when you look at it globally, it becomes a denial of your own story, a denial of your own self. And when we do that, we're not only not being genuine with ourselves, but also we are portraying a self that might not be consistent with who we truly are. Okay, so it's important to explore these things, and we can do this in counseling or in the context of therapy. In line with that, understanding what triggers do you have and how you can take care of yourself whenever you feel triggered is also important. Some people they get to know this by introspection also, through journaling, reflections, but nothing. There's no harm in like talking to a professional about these things. Okay, now we move on to the next well-being aspect, which is the emotional. So here we're taking care of our feelings, our emotions, okay, the heart. So what tools do you use to help yourself express your emotions in a healthy manner? Okay, so there are there are different kinds of people. Those people who can really express their feelings, those people who have difficulty expressing their feelings, and those people who, yes, they express their feelings, but they express it unhealthily. Okay, what we want is to be someone who can healthily express feelings, because the more we keep in these feelings, the more it will um, quote unquote haunt us later, or the more it will become overwhelming for us to handle later on. So it's important to learn skills and tools to express, acknowledge, and manage these emotions, these waves of emotions. One way to do that, for example, is by practicing mindfulness, noticing that emotions are here, that let's say you're feeling anxious, that this anxiety is here and it's communicating um, message to me, whatever that is. You can you can know that by listening to that feeling. Okay, other questions that we can ask for our self-care check-in uh, to nurture the aspect of the emotional are these, no? So one, what calming activities can you engage in to help you calm down when you feel anxious, sad, angry, or upset? What activities help you recenter yourself, or activities that help you stay in the present moment? So mindfulness is one answer to that. Also, doing some distractions sometimes can help, no, in managing the emotional. But if we keep on doing that, it's not going to help us in the long run in terms of managing the emotions. So acknowledging that this thing works for you and this thing doesn't work anymore, and deciding which to change and what alternative can you do is one way of better taking care of yourself. Okay, and then in terms of that, we can also ask ourselves, how do we attend to our emotions when it's here, when it's present, and what thoughts seem to be negative or self-critical? Sometimes these thoughts, even if we're experiencing different things, sometimes they are they they tend to be along the same themes or along the same lines. Understanding this and knowing that these thoughts are just mental events, they come and go, and they are not necessarily a reflection, or they're not necessarily an equivalent of who we are as a person. Those things are important. Other aspects of the emotional is to ask yourself, how do you help yourself when you're feeling stress, or when you're feeling pressure, or anxious, or sad? So, in other words, how do you cope with difficult emotions? Some people cope by talking to someone, or by taking a nap, or taking a break first, or sleeping, or eating when we stress eat, right? But some people are good at handling emotions because they know how to recenter themselves. They know how to calm down when they're, especially when they're feeling anxious. So knowing what will help you move from that dysregulated state or feeling to a more calm, more um, regulated state. Those things will help you manage the emotional aspect. And then it's also important to practice self compassion. So here the question is, what tools help you to remind yourself that you're only human and it's okay to make mistakes? These pertains to acknowledging that we are all human beings experiencing sufferings, experiencing difficulties, and it's only natural that sometimes we will make mistakes because nobody's perfect. But in these mistakes, we learn new things and we grow because the growth happens only if we move from or if we move away from our comfort zone. Okay, now we are on to the fourth aspect, which is the spiritual aspect. This is not necessarily something that pertains to religion or religious practices. The spirit, okay, for this for the spiritual aspect, in order to nurture this aspect of well-being, we have to ask ourselves what reflective practices do we engage in. You know, are you engaging in meditation, in yoga? Well, yoga is a kind of meditation, no? Or going to church or the temple or mosque, your prayers if you are into prayers. So, what are these activities that you engage in that help you feel that sense of peace, that sense of transcendence, that sense of serenity? Okay. It's also a way of, it's also, when we ask this question, it's also a way of looking into that aspect of the self that is beyond physical, it's beyond your feelings or your thoughts, but more on to that particular aspect that really connects to your self, to your inner self. So we go deeper, okay? Other questions you can ask is, have you checked in with yourself by doing a body scan? A body scan is like a mindful practice that you can do. So it's basically scanning your whole body from head to toe, which you can do like before sleeping or maybe after waking up or any time of the day actually. It's checking in with yourself. How are you feeling in the body? If there's any like pain, tension, etc. So it's a good practice, not only for staying in the present, but also in terms of nurturing the spiritual aspect. Also, have we asked ourselves, what are we grateful for? Gratitude is said to be an important factor in well being or in keeping ourselves healthy. So, asking what you're grateful for today, in the past few days, or past weeks, or in life in general. Keeping that attitude of gratitude is really helpful in keeping a balance, well, in a balance or healthy lifestyle. Also, it's really nice know when you express gratitude and really show appreciation to you, to the people around you, to what you have. It creates this sense of satisfaction, sense of calmness in ourselves when we do that, or a sense of peace, maybe. Also, have you found an opportunity to use your strengths? If you are part of the Wellness Toolkit, there's a sub program there that really focuses on strengths and honing your strengths. And it's important to recognize our strengths now. It's important to know that your strength might be different from the strengths of other people, and that's okay. Okay, in addition to the other things that you can ask to hone the spiritual aspect of the following. So, what opportunities or activities do you engage in that energize you, uplift your spirit, and strengthen your hope? Uh, Now, this is important because there would be times when you feel like things are really difficult to the point that it's really hard to see some hope, you know, or some light. So it's important to determine what are these activities that will help you see hope or uplift your spirit and remind yourself of that whenever you needed it. Also, questions like what activities help you go beyond the daily hassles or problems. Like we when we live life like that, like a cycle of just doing and doing, that can be tiring, no? So it's important to, this is part of taking a pause, taking a break, really taking care of yourself, is to find joy in other activities that are not necessarily hassling. Okay, so is it nature walk? Is it doing yoga? Is it mindfulness? Is it engaging into arts, music, poetry, literature? Whatever that is that makes you feel sense of joy, go for it. Okay, or inner peace. Okay, the fifth aspect of well-being is the social or relationship. And this is something that we are all familiar with, no? We all have um, relationships with our friends, family, the significant people in our lives, um, our encounters with other people somehow help us see what kind of person we want to be. And it's important to keep connection. So maybe asking yourself, no, have you connected to anyone today, and to the people significant into your life, or who are the people that gives you a sense of belongingness? How do you want to spend your time with them? Answering these questions also points out to your values. You know, what are the important things in your life? What are your go-to activities whenever you are having difficulties in your interpersonal relationships? So this is also in line. Okay, practicing self-care to enhance our social and relationship aspects. It's not self-care if we don't practice um, asserting ourselves, if we don't respect our boundaries, and of course the boundaries of other people as well. So it's important to ask questions like, how have you practiced assertive communication? And by assertive communication, it means being able to express how you feel, acknowledging these feelings, and then engaging yourself into the process of finding solutions if there's any conflict. And also not avoiding this, the difficult talk, because the difficult talk is of course difficult, but it's a key to enhancing relationships and having more meaningful relationships with other people. Also asking for help, like mentioned earlier, no, it's important to notice when you feel like you would need help, and to recognize that it's okay to ask for help, and to inform other people when you need to do so. And finally, we have the last aspect of well-being, which is the professional or the academic. And okay, so this last aspect of well-being is important because it's something that we do every day. It's something it's very much related to our daily lives. No? We spend most of our time working, doing our responsibilities as students, if you're students, or as an employee if you're working, um, or self-employed. No? Anyway, so these are some of the questions that we can ask before we decide what do we need to do to take care of ourselves in this aspect of well-being. One, how do you organize your time and energy to help yourself in terms of managing your activities or your professional needs or academic needs? No? And this is very much in line with the previous aspects of well-being. Um, Time management is more or less how we manage ourselves, how we manage our emotions, how we manage the decisions that we do or the things that we commit to do. So when you answer this question of how you organize your time and energy, it's important to also consider the things that you um, reflected about yourself from the previous aspects of well-being. Okay, and then we also ask, what academic or organizational activities do you engage in that keeps you motivated and inspired? Also, do you have someone who you can look up to, who you can whom can guide you with what you need to do in terms of your academic goals or professional goals? And then we also ask if we have support groups. Are you part of any support groups? Support groups are important, no? They could be like our peers, friends, or classmates, or org mates, no? As long as you can have that safe space where you can be yourself and where you can learn more about yourself. And then we can also ask, what kind of person do you want to be? Why is this question important? It's important because it's a question that indicates the values that are important to us. And when we live a life that is value or values oriented, we we it's going to be easy, or it's not going to be that challenging to have that sense of life direction. Okay, because our anchor would be the values that we have. That will be our guide to whatever direction we want to be. Okay, and then last question is, do the academic or the organizational activities that you engage in somehow help you become closer to the kind of person that you envision to be? Okay, so these questions are some of the questions that I put up, and were based also from research. No? And I guess I'm saying that these questions are important to us, to not only to know ourselves better, but also to know how we can take care of ourselves better. Plus, it's going to be difficult to have a meaningful life without really taking care of ourselves. So the questions that we walk you through with are some guide questions that you can do when you're reflecting what activities to engage in to take care of yourself in a better and healthier way. So to wrap up that part, no, it's essential to do self-care because only when we know how to take care of our body, our physical body, our mind, our soul, our spirit, can we truly care for others. So it's going to be difficult to take care of others and to be engaged in endeavors that are meaningful for us, or activities that we are passionate about, if we are already if our energies are already depleting, or if we're feeling tired and exhausted. Okay, so a unique self-care could be as unique as your own skincare routine or our own fingerprints, and par- participating or doing activities that nurture the self, that help you um, love yourself more, is not selfish act. Okay, it's essential to do these things because only by doing these things can we truly show up for ourselves, and only by doing true self-care can we nurture and love ourselves, and then in turn love others more meaningfully. With that, one concrete way to check in with ourselves and in consideration of the different aspects of the well-being is through art journaling. So we're gonna put into practice a little bit the check-in that we did earlier. And here is Miss Mian Villanueva to guide us for that particular art activity. So I hope you enjoy that, no? I hope you have your materials with you. And without further ado, here's Miss Mian.
Hello, everybody. Thank you very much, Miss Eileen, for that very comprehensive explanation of the six well-being aspects of well-being that we have. Okay, so in short, maybe there. So, in short, this is really what Miss Eileen talked about, the six well-being aspects that we can use to check in on how well we take care of ourselves. So why bother? Why have a self-care program or a self-care routine? Self-care is really the purpose. The main purpose is really to optimize our well-being. So like what Miss Eileen said earlier, we've identified 6, but you can identify more. You can add more to your uh, self to your well-being. Okay, so we ask you to prepare art materials. Yes, so please bring out all your art materials, put them on your table if you have, or wherever you are comfortable in your own space. I need you to bring out your bond paper if you have, or any kind of paper, notebook if you have, and all of your art materials. So Miss Naline, I prepared a very short video because I'm not sure if my internet is stable, but maybe we can just watch it so you can have like an overview of what we're going to do next. Okay, thank you very much. So do you have your paper with you? Can you please answer through the chat box if you do? Okay. Can you please answer if you do? Yes. Okay, that's wonderful. Plus the art materials. Okay, so I don't know how to pin myself. Okay, anyway, so please, just like in the video, choose a topic that you can put in the middle of the paper. So I just chose like 2020, how it was, or you can actually write your name if you want to. If you have a different topic, you can also use any title. If you cannot think of anything, you can write a symbol. You can draw a symbol. You can use a color to represent your self-care routine. So what we're doing now and what we're about to do actually is we are going to uh, have this check-in. Now, it's really like an assessment of these 6 different aspects of our well-being using art materials and just a piece of paper. So do you have, just answer me in the chat box, okay? Do you have a title? Have you written it, drawn it in the middle of the page? So write it in the middle of the page. Again, you can choose any. You can use colors, symbols. Are you able to write it? Are you finished? Okay, as you continue to write it, just keep on going. I will just explain the others, okay? Because we want to provide time for question and answer later. So I will keep it short, but later on, when you want, you can work on it in a more detailed way. But for now, like in the video that I've shown, I kind of have divided my paper into 6 different quadrants. Okay, you can do that like in your head, like in your mind. Imagine that on the upper left quadrant is the physical part, psychological, emotional, spiritual, social or relationships, professional and academic. Okay, so we will use the PowerPoint later, Miss Nolene. Okay, later. Okay, here I want you to consider one aspect. You can choose which one first you want to assess and evaluate. For example, if it's like your physical self-care program, remember Miss Eileen talked about it in detail. And don't worry, all of the infographics that Miss Eileen and I will present today, we will email them all to you together with the evaluation. So that would be like the framework or like a guide that you can have to evaluate your physical self-care program. But for now, we'll keep it simple. Just rate your physical self-care program from 1 to 10. 10, of course, is the highest score. That means that, you are eating well, you're able to take care of like physical hygiene, you're doing exercise and all that. Okay, so rate it. Just write a number from 1 to 10. 10, the highest score, 1 is the lowest score. Then you move on to psychological, emotional. Just write a number, but think about it first, okay? For example, the psychological aspect of your well-being. Are you able to take care of yourself in this aspect? Rate yourself from 1 to 10. Emotional aspect, you can change it and you don't have to show us later. There won't be any presentation of your personal assessment of your own self-care routine. Okay, so this is confidential, this is personal. So only you can see this. So you can write a number, and if you feel like it's not accurate, you can change it later. But for now, it's just a way for you to go through it, so I can go through the whole thing with you. Emotional, how do you rate your self-care routine or program for your emotional well-being? 1 to 10. Then we move to the upper right quadrant, spiritual. Can we post on screen the summary, Miss Nali? So maybe they can have a guide. So spiritual aspect of your well-being. So here, some of the things that Miss Eileen talked about for spiritual is like doing a body scan, like to check in on yourself, how you're doing. Talked about being grateful, what are you grateful for, and how do you show your affections, what are ways that you can use your strength and talents, and how do you uplift your spirit, what opportunities or activities do you engage in so that you feel energized and hopeful. Rate that. And then social and Miss Eileen was struck. Okay, social. Think about your social well-being. It's like how you connect to other people, especially those people who are significant to you. Like, do you have a particular group that you belong to? So how do you spend time with your org mates, friends, families? What are your go-to activities whenever you're having difficulties with particular relationships? how well can you assert yourself? Um, like, are you able to talk about things with or express yourself with other people? Are you able to ask help when you need help? These are the things that were discussed by Miss Eileen. So give a number, like go over your social connectedness and your relationships with other people. So just write a number on that particular quadrant. The last part, okay, the last part would be school or like your work, your professional well-being. Again, think of this aspect of your well-being. Hang on, I'm trying to okay, 1 to 10. There, okay. Oh, sorry, it's professional. There. Okay, so professional, it's really, it has to do with being able to organize your time, your energy. It has to do with being able to manage your activities that's related to academic or your organization or your work. And how do you keep yourself motivated, inspired to do all of these things? What are your goals in terms of your work or your school? Okay. So may I know, like, if you're able to write all of the ratings that you have related to all these 6 well-being aspects of well-being? Can you please let's write in the chat box? Yes, if you're able to. Okay. All right. Wonderful. Yes. Okay. So this is just like going through it in a very brief manner. Later on, you can do a more detailed check-in, okay, with your self-care program using the infographics that we will be sending you. All right. So before I continue, I would like to give a very brief overview of what art journaling is, and like how it can really help us in self-care, not only in self-care, but really being able to cope with things that we have to deal with in a daily basis. Miss Eileen, can you, Miss Naline, please show the PowerPoint, please. There. All right. There. Okay. So art journaling is simply a visual diary. Okay. So, but then let's try to define it so that we are all on the same page. So what is it? What is art journaling? Okay. So when we talk about art, we all know this. Okay. Just for the sake of defining what is art, it's really an expression of our created skill. No? So we all have a creative aspect of ourselves. No? So it can be like an artwork, it can be in music, it can be in dance. You can uh, also create lyrics, poems, if you like. So there are many ways to express our creative skill. Okay, journal. What is journal? Journal is a record. Okay. In short, it's a diary. So it's a record of something personal. Now, it's really about ourselves, our ideas, our experiences, reflections, thoughts, all of these things. So just like what I've said, it's a visual diary. Okay. So what do next, Miss Naline? So what is it really for? For today, we just tried a very simple art journaling. Okay, to check in and find out and assess how well or how how well do we really take care of ourselves? So we did that by using our paper in a way so that we can express it visually. Like when we look at what we have done today, we can see, oh, okay, I'm not so good with my physical well-being. Maybe I can improve that. Okay. Or we can say, when we look at what we did today, oh, okay, I have, this is okay. It's so my social and connectedness and relationship, it's 5, it's I can still improve it. Or like you can look at your paper and see, oh, spiritual, I'm doing well with that. So in just visually, it can guide you, it can give you feedback of like what's happening with your self-care. So it is for everybody. Everyone can do art journaling, no? And it's not about being an artist, no, because it talks about art. It doesn't mean that you have to be an artist, you have to be good at drawing, or you have to be a writer. And you don't have to be a Palanca awardee and write, grammatically correct, fantastic entries, no, on your journal. Okay, next, Miss Naline. Okay, so what materials? Materials, um, is only really limited by your imagination, no? So, but to be conventional, you can have like a notebook. You can have a notebook for it. uh, and then in terms of materials, it's your choice, really. You can use the conventional art materials, um like markers, gray pass, no, paint, anything. You can also use cutouts from magazines. You saw something and you loved it, and cut it out, and then you can paste it in your on your journal. Now, sometimes, like my students who are not very artsy. Okay, so sometimes what's comfortable for them is they can find like an online app and they can use it as an art journal as well. No, so you can have this. I forget the actual name, but you can have like a calendar of photos. You can post like one photo a day that is like that captures like what happens to you that day. So it's like a calendar, but of photos, personal photos. So again, you can be really creative in like what Miss Eileen said. It's personalized. Whatever works for you, that's what you do. Next, Miss Nolene. Okay, so how to start? Remember, we ask like, how was your weekend? How was your weekend? And that's already a self check. Like that's already checking in with like how you are and what happened over the weekend. And that speaks about like how well also like uh your self-care routine was. So a lot said chose green. No, so we're very happy. People were had a restful weekend. So that's one important thing. Just to check in, how am I? Okay, that's an important aspect of art journaling. It's because it's about you. It's a personalized, it's a personal conversation with yourself. Okay, so how do you start? So if you choose a notebook, then you write down. Just write down. You can draw. Okay. Um, Again, if it's like I have a student who opened like an account, but it's private. So you can also open that account, maybe a Twitter account, up to you or whatever, and write your entry for the day. So you can write, you can draw. And then when I say make a list, because sometimes like you just want a list, for example, like 3 best things that happened today, or like 3 interesting websites that I stumbled upon today, or 3 things that I have to be grateful for today. So just bullet points, no? Just like a list. It doesn't have to be like complete sentences. It could be words, it could be phrases. Okay, then you can also paste if it's like a cutout, like I said. If you read like a quote, a printed quote, and you liked it, you can look at my screen, right? Look at the screen. This there's a picture here that uh you can cut like words, you can cut pictures, like you can draw. Look at this entry also. You can draw on your journal. Mm-mm. Okay, next, Miss Naline. Okay, so again, I want to stress these three main points about art journaling. It's very personal. Uh, it's confidential, so you have to take care of it because it's a part of your own thoughts, like your own feelings. They're all there, and it's very private. Next, Miss Naline. Okay, so like what I've said, you're not doing it for other people. You don't start your journal entry to and think of like an artwork in the end. No, that's not the whole point. The whole point is that you can get it off your chest and put it on your journal. Okay, so now you don't carry it around with you, this heavy feeling that you have, or these worries that you might have, or these plans in the future, or like this inspiration that you have. They're all um, recorded and documented. So it has to make sense to you, and that is all that's important. Last, Miss Naline. So it's a safe space. When you have an art journal, it's always a time you provide for yourself. It's a safe space because it's a time, it's a sacred time that you give to yourself so that you can have this conversation. You can have this, um, uh, you know, way to keep yourself like at optimum, to take care of yourself in that sense. Okay, so the last part of this short lecture on art journaling or special purposes. No? Oh, because art journaling is really, it could really be one whole webinar if you want it. So we can really go into detail, but this is just an overview. Okay, so an art journal can be specific. It can just be about gratitude. No? So you can have a small notebook. Again, you can have an app for it. You can have a personal account for it. Whatever works for you. And you can just express what are the things that you are grateful for. What do you appreciate, about your life or about yourself or about the day. And it doesn't have to be every day. Okay, whatever works for you. All right, next. Um, okay, so it can also be a way to help you track your mood. Okay, so sometimes like it's important to you to know, like, uh beginning of the week you're okay, middle like your mood goes down, and then weekend your mood goes up again, so you can also use art journaling for that. Next, anxiety. Okay, so sometimes it can be for anxiety. And how do you do that? Simple. You can just draw lines across the page of your journaling. Sometimes, like with my students, we use paper or sometimes newspaper, and we use paint. So when you want to calm yourself because you are so anxious, you can use like paint or a marker or whatever art instrument that you want to use, and then you inhale from one part of the paper to the next end of the paper. Just keep drawing lines. Okay, so you inhale when you are on the side of the paper. Inhale and let your breath carry that line across the page. Okay, so you inhale, exhale, draw the line, and then inhale, Exhale, draw the line. And you can take the whole page. As long, you can go to the next page if you feel that you still need to continue doing that. Okay. You can also draw circles. You can doodle, you can color. You can color on your art journal. So whatever works for you. The whole point is to do something repetitive so that it can regulate your breathing and also uh, calm you down when you're anxious. Okay. If you have questions, we can answer later on. Next. Oh, okay. For negative, difficult and negative emotions. So sometimes you are consumed by sadness or anger or frustration or worry, and you don't know what to do. And you can go to your notebook, art journal. No, I have a student who would just color the whole page, whatever mood she's in, and use that paint or marker just to color the whole page. No? Or you can express your like one word that would express your emotion, just write it across the page. Okay, until you can calm yourself down. Okay, all right. So just before we move to the question and answer, I would like to end this. Oh, not yet question and answer, no, but I'd like to end this part of the workshop by asking. You can open the video and talk to us if you want, but if that is too intimidating, I would love to read like your comments in the chat box. How was the whole experience? How was it like checking in? Like assessing your self-care routine using a very simple activity today. How was it like? Okay. Please write on the chat box. How did you feel when you were doing the activity? Or what thoughts came to mind? Was it easy? Was it difficult? Rating the different aspects of your well-being. Just please write on the chat box. Wala. There. Okay, help me understand things. Oh, okay. Yes. Help me understand things that happened and my goals is clearer, in a clearer perspective. I felt like I have a lot to improve. Okay. Kind of felt surprised about the ratings I gave myself. Writing things down helped me get a sense of my state as of the moment. It actually helped motivate me to try and work on the aspects where I have a low score. Yes. Okay. Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. That's exactly what it is for. It's really, like I said, a personal conversation with yourself. Sometimes we think we know, or sometimes we think that we understand, but then when you get down to details and really draw and write it down and put your thoughts into it, reflect on it, you'll be surprised, that uh, your impression of your self-care routine is different from what it is really, or from your own interpretation. Okay, so this is only like an assessment, no? But anyway, some of you have said that there are much to improve, or there are certain areas that you can improve. This activity is what is your basis, no? Because you've assessed your self-care routine or your own self-care program. This is your basis to create the blueprint. So this is your basis to make your own personalized self-care routine. If you feel you have to add more activities to help you with your physical aspect of your well-being, then do that, no? But then the activity today is really what it is for. It's your guide to create the blueprint. So Miss Eileen will now show you some examples. So because other students have created their blueprints, and they, with
Yeah.
their permission, they have given us permission to show them, to show you their routine. There you go.
So these are some of the work of our students who are participants or currently participants of the ongoing Wellness Toolkit program. Okay, it's an asynchronous program available for LS students. If you are here today in this webinar and you haven't participated on it and you are interested, there's an ongoing sign up for the next semester. So you can join that for the next semester. Miss Nolene, let's move to the next slide, please. Thank you. There. So this is one example by Miss Bernice Amoyo. So basically, they just outlined, their personal preference of activities that after assessing or having that self-care check-in, they found that these activities are the one that really fit them. So basically, self-care is your um, unique way of taking care of yourself. There are other examples. We can move to the next slide, please. Here's another example by Edeline. So as you can see, there are different aspects there. The aspects we've discussed earlier, the physical, the social, psychological, emotional, the academic, and the spiritual. In reality, there are other aspects of well-being or wellness. Like I mentioned earlier, there's also financial, there's uh, another thing. Next, please. Okay, so here are other examples. Next, please. Okay, so if you will read some of these, they are very personal and um, they really speak about the person's unique way of taking care of themselves. And it's like for example, the psychological here: continue cutting and knitting during breaks if you feel like it. So it's there's that flexibility. So you don't have to. It's good to have specific you can follow on a routinary basis, but it's also good to be flexible. All right. So those are some examples. Now we can have the Q and A. Sir Marvin will help us facilitate that, the
Okay.
Q and A part.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Miss Eileen. So there, guys, we've heard a lot from Miss Eileen and Miss Mian, and I'm sure we've learned a lot from them. Now is the time for you to raise any questions that you may have to our facilitators this morning.
Mm-mm.
So you can
Oh,
post your questions in the chat box, or if you want, you can open up your videos and raise the questions yourselves if you want.
or audio. Or by the way, speaking of questions, earlier there was a question while I was presenting, no, and I'd like to answer that question. The question was not
Go
sure
ahead,
if
Miss
this was
Eileen.
mentioned. Not sure if this was mentioned, but I'm curious to know under which psychological tradition are these six aspects of well-being based on. Miss Nalin, can we please show the slide there? Thank you. So here, actually, the six aspects that I've shown or I've discussed are coming in from various psychological perspectives. So as I've mentioned, there could be more aspects of well-being, but the main basis of that is from the definition of brief psychological well-being, which includes positive attitude toward the self. So that's where self-compassion comes in. That's where self-awareness. That's where living a values-driven or value-centered life comes in. Having quality relationship, that's a social aspect. Having the capacity to manage one's life and environment. That could be an integration of the body, soul, mind, spiritual aspect, or the physical. Having the belief that one's life is purposeful and meaningful. The purpose and the meaningful aspect could be under the umbrella of the spiritual aspect. So basically, this is it. I also base it from Pennock and Alberts. Okay, they are positive psychologists, and they actually identified just four lang. So these questions that I presented are questions that I came up with from reading various things about well-being and wellness. But some of the questions here are questions that came from a talk of father shampoo, especially the aspect about spiritual well-being. There. Any other questions about the presentation
Okay.
before we?
There's another one here, Miss Eileen.
Mhm,
There's another one here and from Persephone. When
mhm,
does self-care become unhealthy, like watching too much Netflix or napping instead of studying?
mhm. Okay. So sometimes a joyful or a relaxing activity can be considered as self-care, but it can be unhealthy. So it can be unhealthy if when we're using it as a coping to distract and to avoid what we need to face. For example, if with self-awareness you realize that you've been watching for more than 8 hours without standing up, sometimes even if you feel like you're already feeling hungry, you don't stand up, ganyan, that's already an indication that it's too much. Anything that's too much is not healthy. So again, it's really considering and checking with yourself, how can I better take care of myself? So if you're engaging in an activity and this activity uh, is something that will cause you to have an unbalanced life. So, if, for example, if you're spending too much time with distractions instead of spending quality time with friends, for example, or family, or doing your hobbies, like if you are into arts or if you are into reading, for example, and you feel like you're losing time for that, then that is not that's not really self care. Any other question? Thank you for that question.
Any other questions? Feel free to ask your questions to our facilitators this morning, and they will gladly answer those questions that you have in mind.
May I just add, Miss Eileen?
Yes, yes, Miss
Okay.
Anne.
So for
Go ahead.
the so it seems like there's need for boundaries also, like what you're saying, no? So it ceased to be self-care when it adds to the stress because you're
Mm-hmm.
losing time and you're not able to attend to, for example, academic. So you're doing the too much watching for self-care, but then the other aspect of your well-being, which is your academic, is sacrificed. So sometimes, like, what helps is like you really plan everything for the week, no? And I always encourage students to really have a me time. Me
Mm-hmm.
time is like, you decide when me time would be, and it should be guilt free. So only when you have like done everything for academics, for for spiritual and all that, then you can decide when your me time would be. So it's regulated because like there's a specific time for me, for yourself. Now you can watch Netflix, you can just sleep, you can like like interact with your friends, but it's guilt free. It's guilt free because you have everything like uh planned already. There's already time for everything that you're supposed to do for that week. Mm-mm. Any more questions?
Anyone else would like to ask questions before we wrap up our session this morning?
Okay, while waiting for siguro one last question, I'd like to add then to what Miss Nian has said, no.
Mm-mm.
A lot of people feel guilty with just taking a break, no, that, especially if they feel like they have a lot of things to do. But taking a break, pausing and slowing down, which is the core of self-care, is not is nothing to be guilty about because it's something that we need to do. It's essential so that we can replenish or renew our energy. And as I mentioned earlier in my presentation, if we are able to take care of ourselves, then we can take care of other people. Then we can take care of other things that we need to do.
That's right. So
That's
last question, last call for the last question before we wrap up our session this morning. Wala na. Anyway, you can always post your questions or raise your questions and send it to us or to your counselors, to Miss Mian and Miss Eileen rather. If later on you thought of any questions that you may have in mind. Okay, so last call. Okay, I think they. Oh, okay.
Ayan.
From Martin.
Martin.
Hi,
Hi.
Hi, Martin.
Hello,
Hi,
hi.
Martin.
Hi.
Okay, Martin.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you have any
I have a
question in
question.
mind? Okay, go
Okay, go
ahead.
ahead.
So, Ma'am Eileen, you said you gave one of the questions that on the physical, how is the quality of my
Mm-hmm.
sleep, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do
Mm-hmm.
you have any tips for sleep? This is for Mami and Ma'am Eileen. Because
Mm-hmm.
that's very hard to like,
Okay.
yeah. I think in ACADS, when you're doing ACADS, sleep is, yeah.
That's
Mm-hmm.
true. Thank you, Martin, for your question. Me and
That's a very
Eileen.
important question, no? Siguro, well, my take on that is like what we've already said, what Miss Niana said, no? It's really planning. It's really giving yourself that intention and that commitment that if I really want to take care of myself, my priority is myself. So if in the physical aspect, sleep is important, and we all know it's important. We have to really allot time for sleep. So if you feel like you're you're allotting a lot of or most of your time spent in ACAD, which is happening talaga, uh, then maybe taking a break from the ACAD is something that you can schedule or sleep. Ganun din, parang having a regular sleeping time or having that parang I will only stay up to 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. Max na yung 12. Whether or not I finish what I need to finish, I'm going to sleep. So ganon. So it sometimes it's really making a choice, no? So do I do I finish this first or do I sleep? Ganon. Miss Mian?
Mm. Okay. So that's very important question, Martin. Thank you so much. Um, okay. So sleep is very important because if you don't have a way to replenish that physical energy, what do you use for the next day, right? So maybe an important question that's related to sleep is you have to observe yourself. Like, what is your prime, like in terms of managing not only your time but also managing, like what Miss Eileen said earlier, managing your energy. I always ask students, like, observe yourself. When are you most alert? When are you most able to absorb information? Some students, like, early risers, like early in the morning, 6 o'clock, kasi wala pang gising, so can study, ganun. Or some naman are in the evening. So you have to identify that. No? So if you know, like, when is the best time for you to study, that's, or your most alert, your prime, I say prime, no, that's where you study. For example, that's where you read, that's where the things that you need most energy for in terms of studying, that's what you do. Then when you are not so, like, okay lang, chill lang yung energy level mo, like maybe in the morning and your prime is in the afternoon, that's when you create the videos, that's when you watch the movies that you need to do, or like, you know, um, things that don't need much energy. So parang if you are able to manage your energy within the day, then you can sleep better, hopefully. Hopefully you can sleep better kasi you used your time well. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
also sleeping, you need to, parang kunwari, your target um, time to sleep would be, kunwari lang, no, pero maybe later, 10 o'clock. So an hour before, no more gadget, try to eat ahead, mga 2 hours ahead, so you don't feel full and it's easier to sleep, or maybe a light exercise before you sleep, whatever worked for you to help you get better sleep, no. But no caffeine, caffeine, it will keep you awake, diba? So you don't drink coffee when you're about to sleep, or eat chocolate, or like, those practical things. Kasi you parang psych yourself to sleep na. So no gadget, parang you lie down na, or you take a bath, whatever. Okay, so that by the time you say 11, you sleep na, then your body is already programmed to sleep. Yan.
Okay,
There's
thank
another
you, Miss
question.
Mian and Miss
Thank you,
Eileen.
ma'am.
most
Miss Persephone shared this, and I'd like to share it with you. What I do is, if I'm too sabaw and can't study anymore, where I've read a sentence twice and can't understand it, I sleep cause there's
Mhm.
no point in staying awake and using up energy if nothing goes inside my brain anymore. Now, my problem is when I have too much energy, I'm easily distractible. So I need to have medium amount of energy to be able to study. That's from Persephone.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you for sharing
So
that. Mm-mm.
yeah, thank you, Persephone, and thank you, Martin, and for the rest of our participants. Okay, so to recap before we end the session, a while ago you've heard Miss Eileen discuss the six aspects of well-being that we need to check, and this includes the physical, psychological, emotional, spiritual, social, professional, and academic. And also, earlier we saw, or Miss Mian taught us a way to assess our well-being and self-care and develop our self-care routine using art journaling. And we know and we can't underestimate the importance of doing self-care. As Miss Eileen has said, self-care isn't selfish. So we need to know what activities that we can engage to take good care of ourselves. And let's make it a point to practice self-care. So make an appointment with yourself and see what we can do to take care of ourselves. So with that, we'd like to thank each and every one of you for joining us this morning. And of course, a big thanks to our facilitator, Miss Eileen and Miss Mian, for bringing us this healthy and helpful, helpful workshop that we have for this morning. And before we end, a few reminders. Please don't forget to answer the evaluation. A link will be posted in the chat, and it will handouts and infographics will also be sent to your email to all our participants, so you can review and have it check again if you want to, and that will serve as your guide as well. So don't forget to answer the eval. The link is there in the chat box, and shortly the infographics and handouts will be sent to each and every one of you. So again, a round of applause to our facilitators, Miss Eileen and Miss Mian. Thank you so much for teaching us this important technique.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
so and of
Oh,
course to Miss Nolene for
before
the technical
you
assistance.
go, please,
Miss
can
Eileen?
we take a group fee, like
Group fee.
Okay,
for
Yay.
group
everyone?
picture.
Okay, Miss Eileen,
Okay,
Miss
If
Nolene,
you
group pic.
are okay with that, kindly open your camera if you're open to that. If not, hello.
It's also okay.
open your
Fee.
cans or post a picture of yours.
Yes, can we take a group fee?
Okay.
Miss
Miss
Lynn?
Eileen,
Ready?
ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm
One,
just using my phone.
one, two, three. One more.
Are we?
For the second
Can we
window pala.
signal?
One,
Going.
two, three. Oops, wait. Wait lang.
Technical
Okay.
problem.
Okay na.
Okay,
Oh,
thank you.
thank you.
Thank you
Thank
very much,
you.
everybody, for attending. There you go.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm pretty sure that you've learned a lot from Miss Mian and Miss Eileen this morning, and I hope you can apply and make use of them as you develop your own self-care blueprint. So again, thank you so much, and this is your host Marvin saying thank you for being with us.